Welcome, everybody, to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show featuring Dr. Carolyn Dean. Join Dr. Dean for the next 2 hours along with her host, cohort, and good buddy, Ginny Sanders, also known as Ginny Almighty. Join Dr. Dean as she shares with us her vast range of experience, knowledge, talent, and wisdom. Phone lines are now open, and we'll be taking your calls from around the world and here in the USA.
Welcome everyone to Dr. Carolyn Dean Live here on YouTube Live and also on Dreamvisions 7 Radio Network, uniting humankind with universal love and uniting the whole world with our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean, the lover who loves, the one who speaks all the languages of love, gifts of service, gift giving, physical touch, quality time, words of affirmation. She's got it all down, and she speaks the 6th language of love. And yes, I know you are on the edge of your seat wondering what that is. She loves you. And you can't get any better than that, to have a doctor who loves you. I mean, seriously, folks, when was the last time your doctor said, I love you? But I'm telling you, every single Monday, as she straps on her headset and sits down in front of her computer, Dr. Carolyn Dean is here to let you know that you are loved. Your body is loved. You have all the potential that you need in this world, and you have everything within your grasp to actually transform your health, your vitality, your well-being, and your lifestyle, just because of our will to be known by you as one who truly does love and care about you, your health, and the health of your family. That's what we're here to do tonight for the next 2 hours. If you're the first time you're joining us, we welcome you and say, congratulations. We're so glad you found us. We put out the signal every week. Me. Anyone on the planet who's interested in knowing how to radically transform your health and or sustain the amazing health that you have and or explore new ways to be even more vital and alive, or to capitalize on the health and the vitality that you already enjoy by being in a network of people who are committed to living well and enjoying life, then you are here in the right place. So I want to say a couple things about our show tonight. It is a 2-hour show. This is a call-in talk radio show. Dr. Dean will do her announcements in the beginning, and she's going to talk about a topic that's near and dear to her heart, and that is a misconception that magnesium may not be good for your kidneys. And after we blow through that, we're going to take your calls, we're going to answer emails, and if anytime during the show that you hear something that's causing conflict or controversy in your mind, if we're live like we are right now, you can hit us up on YouTube or the radio station chat line. We'll respond to you. And if you're listening after the show through our archives, our podcast, please don't hesitate to put your comments below on YouTube or to email us at questions, questions, at drcarolyndeanlive.com. I'll repeat that several times during the show, and we will address your questions. This is not a health advice show. We can't do that. But what Dr. Dean will do is tell you what she would do if she were you. And, well, she is you. She might be the author of the best-selling Magnesium Miracle, but she's you. And she might be a herbalist and a nutritionist, and she might do acupuncture, and she might do Qigong and Feng Shui, and she might be a snappy dancer, but she's also you. She has a heart and a brain and a body just like yours, and she's kept hers in pretty good shape by following her own advice and doing her own thing. So she'll tell you what she would do if it were her in your shoes, and that's going to be very helpful to you. I can guarantee it. Now, I just want to say, before I bring her in, that one of the people who's been very silently, quietly in the background, listening to the things the doctor says every week is our most special producer, Rachel. And she just told me her little testimonial that she's about ready to kick her blood pressure medicine to the curb because she doesn't need it anymore. She's been gradually cutting back. She's been gradually increasing her remag. And now she's at a point of homeostasis. And we wish the same for you. Not that we don't like drugs. Drugs have their place. Not that we don't like surgery. Not any of that. We love it all, but it has its place. And the real place that we want to take in your heart and in your body is the mineralization of your body, so you don't need to rely on drugs. So Rachel, we thank you for that. We're so happy that our producer is skedaddling along with the program as Dr. Dean recommends, following all sage advice, and it's paying off. So without further ado, I must bring her into you, our very own delicious and totally delightful and absolutely dynamic 100% Dr. Carolyn Dean.
And there are the angels. And I hate to start off with a comment or a question, but Ginny, there's this clicking, banging. It reminds me of when I was in Girl Guide Camp, where we'd hear the cord of the flag banging against the pole. Click, click, click. Did you get that new headset you promised? There it is. There it is. There, click, 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 constant.
Okay.
There it is again.
It just happened again. Okay, something must be happening. I will fix it. I will mute and I will fix it.
Okay.
Press on.
Okay. Off we go. Okay. Yes. Ginny mentioned the 5 love languages. It's a book by Gary Chapman. Ginny told me about this book a couple of years ago, actually. I didn't know she was going to mention it, but all of a sudden one day she said to me, you know, what you do is your love language is giving gifts. And I read the book and I realized, and then Ginny realized too, that the 5 languages are words of affirmation, quality time, receiving and giving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. And I like doing it all. And I know a lot of people do. And I realize with the way the quarantine has affected all of us, we don't have the physical touch. The acts of service, it's difficult when you're not with people. You can give and receive gifts, though. You're not able to really spend quality time, words of affirmation. You can do that on the phone or internet, but I think a lot of us spend time kind of complaining about what's going on. So, I mean, there's a deficit there. And if you know that, then, just try to recover from that and practice your 5 love languages: words of affirmation, quality time, giving and receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. Today, as Ginny said, we have the chronic kidney disease, how to safely supplement with magnesium. This is one of the biggest concerns I have because more and more allopathic medicine is talking about, kidney failure, chronic kidney disease, and they put a burden on people because even with the way they describe the testing for the kidneys, they talk about kidney failure. Here are the stages of chronic kidney failure, they say, or chronic kidney disease. And when you're at the stage of like 0 to 1 and, pretty much everything is normal, they still have the word failure there. And it makes people kind of give up. It's like, well, if I'm already in failure, what's there to do? And in terms of medicine, well, in a sense, thankfully, there are no drugs for kidney disease, mild kidney disease. They do tell you to take, health precautions, but one of the very blatant negative things they say right away to anyone who has even a pinch of kidney filtration problems is don't take magnesium. And this is what we're going to talk about today, and why that kind of attack on magnesium comes about and what we can do about it. So the blog that Ginny sent out, you can find it at drcarolyndeanlive.com, or it's in your email box, in your inbox, sent out today to announce the show. So the NIH, National Institutes of Health, acknowledges a growing burden of kidney disease. So they state that. Statistics show a sharp increase in kidney disease affecting 1 in 10 American adults. More and more people are looking for alternatives to improve the structure and function of their kidneys. That's why one of the most requested sections from my book, The Magnesium Miracle, the 2017 edition, is titled Kidney Disease. And it's partly because kidney patients are being told that they can't take magnesium. And actually, if you don't have the book, you can get in touch with our customer service at support@rnareset.com and ask for that chapter to be sent to you by PDF in your email. So magnesium and kidney disease, the issue. I've been writing about kidneys and magnesium supplementation for years to clear up the confusion about how and when to use magnesium if you have any degree of kidney disease. An article I wrote, Kidney Artery Calcification Causes Kidney Disease, gives a simple explanation of why doctors who may be uninformed about magnesium tell patients to avoid taking it. This is because patients with no kidney function who are on dialysis can build up high levels of magnesium if they're given intravenous magnesium. So if the kidneys are badly damaged, magnesium is not released. And if you give a person IV magnesium in those situations, or high doses of IV magnesium, then the magnesium won't be released and can build up in the bloodstream. So those few cases led doctors to give blanket advice that all patients with any sort of kidney disease should avoid magnesium. So that is, basically in error. And it just kind of magnifies what I've been calling medical illiterates. So many doctors are illiterate in the language of magnesium, illiterate in the language of nutrients. So they hear that, magnesium and in kidney failure is contraindicated, and then all of a sudden anybody with any sort of kidney disease is told to avoid magnesium. And we hear every day at customer service that people are being told to avoid magnesium. Now, I'll say here, and I'll repeat later on, our magnesium being 100% absorbed, or fully absorbed, I should say, at the cellular level because of its picometer size, it gets right into the cells. It doesn't build up in the bloodstream. And also magnesium being necessary for 80% of known metabolic functions. That's why everybody, including people with kidney disease, must have magnesium. But it has to be in the bioavailable form. As I said, Remag bioavailability means it goes directly into the cells and it's not building up in the blood. And what is causing chronic kidney disease? I mentioned just a minute or so ago the calcification of the kidney arteries, just as the calcification in the heart, coronary arteries causes heart problems. Calcification in the carotid arteries in the neck causes stroke problems in the brain. So does calcification in the kidney arteries. They're also called renal arteries, RENAL. And if you have enough magnesium, calcification in soft tissues like the blood vessels, where calcium is not supposed to deposit, magnesium will help to dissolve the calcium in those soft tissues. So the problem of kidney disease could be being caused because of magnesium deficiency. And yet your doctor is willing to say, well, you're not allowed to take magnesium because you have kidney disease. So modern medicine says that it's in line, chronic kidney disease is in line with an epidemic of obesity and hypertension and smoking and lipid disorders, but they really don't know exactly what's causing it. The laboratory findings show elevated serum phosphorus, elevated calcium, elevated parathyroid hormone, and elevated fibroblastic growth factor. So this chronic kidney disease develops as the kidneys slow down their filtration of urine and hold on to these minerals, calcium and phosphorus. So they build up in the bloodstream and are measured as being high. So even though medical texts say that calcium and magnesium compete with each other, and an excess of one can lead to excretion of the other, there's absolutely no mention of magnesium in these writings. So what if the calcium and phosphorus elevation comes first and then causes kidney damage? And the elevation could come from a lack of magnesium. Holding on to calcium is something the body does naturally, whereas magnesium is flushed out through the urine or bowels when the body is under stress or in times when you have saturated yourself with magnesium. The likely reason is that early mankind lived near oceans with access to fish and seaweeds and thus plenty of magnesium, but with few calcium sources like dairy and green leafy vegetables. Ocean water has 3 times more magnesium than calcium and twice more magnesium than phosphorus. Therefore, enhancing calcium absorption and preventing magnesium excess were survival mechanisms that were encoded in our wiring millennia ago. Current promotion of calcium as supplements and fortified into foods makes us a very calcified population. So this elevated calcium and phosphorus, they also trigger an alarm in the endocrine system, which responds by trying to keep calcium and phosphorus concentrations in balance. But then parathyroid hormone becomes elevated, and even though it does help to decrease phosphorus, it also increases calcium and vitamin D3. And the D3 is processed in the kidney, and et cetera, et cetera. It gets kind of complicated, but the endocrine system, calcium, vitamin D, phosphorus, medicine really doesn't know what to do with all those variables. And they don't understand the incredible relationship of magnesium with all 3 of these nutrients. As kidney disease progresses, the rise in serum calcium and phosphorus leads to calcification in soft tissues, particularly in blood vessels. So it's a vicious cycle. But not only do I believe using our Remag magnesium is safe, I believe it's necessary. In that article I mentioned above, in Kidney Artery Calcification Causes Kidney Disease, I discussed the problem of calcification of the renal arteries and the role magnesium plays in dissolving calcium. Another scenario plays out in the kidneys and bladder. If there's too much calcium in the kidneys, not enough magnesium to dissolve it, you can develop kidney stones. So calcium can also be deposited in the bladder wall, making it rigid, lowering its capacity, and leading to frequent urination and leaking. A 2015 study confirms magnesium's role in dissolving calcium crystals in artery calcification. And what we've had with our customers is people who've had bladder leakage. Once they're on our Remag and saturated, they no longer have the leakage because the bladder loses its calcification. As I mentioned earlier, kidney artery calcification is common and maybe as common as coronary artery calcification, but it has been neglected because it can't be treated with stents or artery bypass. You can't get to the kidney arteries as easily as the heart arteries. So, too much calcium will knock out magnesium. So my first thought would be to treat chronic kidney disease with Remag, which would naturally diminish calcium and phosphorus. Since magnesium is required by over 1,000 enzyme systems in the body, you can be sure it's required by the kidneys. Magnesium also has about 4,000 receptor sites on body proteins. However, as I mentioned above, doctors have been conditioned to avoid magnesium in kidney disease, and also they tell patients to limit their protein intake, whereas magnesium, with its receptors sites on proteins, is actually balancing out proteins as well. And then I finish up with how to improve your kidney health. And I say I continue to lobby for the ionized magnesium and calcium testing for the public. And these tests can be used as a guide to balance your magnesium and calcium ratios in your intake. I also suggest using my Remag to saturate your body with magnesium. Over time, your body will use the magnesium to dissolve the calcium in your arteries. Keep a food diary of the calcium-rich foods you eat. Aim for injecting 600 milligrams of calcium per day. And if you don't get enough, if you're not eating dairy or green leafy vegetables, for example, you can supplement with our Recalcia, 300 milligrams per teaspoon. And the amount of Remag I recommend to people is 600 milligrams of magnesium to balance the 600 milligrams of calcium you're getting in your food, or with the Recalcia. Personally, I had to take 1,200 milligrams when I was working on my heart palpitations. So I know some people do need more. And then consider adding your other minerals, the ones we have in Remite, for example. And what we're looking at there is the building blocks for the cells. If there's some kidney damage going on, then we want to build up the cells. But if it's mostly the calcification that's blocking the arteries, causing filtration problems, then you start with Remag. And then the fifth point I have here in the list is, since kidney disease and diabetes often march hand in hand, investigate a low-carb, medium-protein, high-fat meal plan. I point you to my interview with Dr. Jason Fung, and the link is in the email or on the website. Dr. Fung, who I've met personally, is an internationally known nephrologist who suggests the keto diet with modified fasting to improve pancreas and kidney function. So as a nephrologist, he was running a dialysis clinic, and he said that, I just couldn't stand the fact that so many of my patients are diabetics, and they're their kidney function goes down and down and down as their kidneys do get irritated with the buildup of sugar. And he didn't really understand about the calcification. I talked to him about magnesium when I met him, and he said, "Oh my, yes." He said, "I'm a proponent of magnesium because so many of my dialysis patients have leg cramps, heart palpitations, racing heart, and I find that they do better when I put some magnesium into their IV." And I said, "When are you going to write a paper on this?" I'm always pushing the envelope. And he said, "Well, I'll give that some time." And the reason is he's afraid to write a paper on magnesium for kidney disease because everybody thinks it's so evil. So there we have the blog. I do have some more information, but let's see what Ginny has to say about the blog. See what I left out or what people are writing on the chat.
I think you did a great job on the blog, and this is one of our favorite topics in customer service. I think we got some good questions too. So I think everything was really well done. No questions on the chat line other than Carol, who did say, "I would like to get a request the section on kidney disease in a PDF format. I was just made aware of a relative who was diagnosed with kidney disease." And of course, I just responded and said, shoot them an email at support@rnareset.com, and they'll get it right off to you, Carol. We'd love for you to be able to present them this information and also have them listen to the radio show. So sometimes it's also good to hear it from a doctor by the show. So we are caught up with everything in that regard. Carolyn.
Okay, good. That whole section from the book, it has the story by a health practitioner who is on dialysis, and she pushed and pushed and pushed until finally her doctor did some before dialysis and after dialysis magnesium blood tests, and she said to them, "Look, my magnesium drops when I'm on dialysis. I demand to be able to use my Remag and keep my magnesium levels up and help me prevent leg cramps and tachycardia and even some arrhythmia." So she's educating her dialysis group, and it's also she found that a terrible itchy skin condition that a lot of dialysis patients get began to go away when she was taking deposits of phosphorus and calcium under the surface of the skin. It sounds very bizarre, but you'll read about that when you read that kidney disease chapter in my book. Now, in terms of testing, as I mentioned earlier, the filtrate is how they gauge so-called kidney disease. The normal rate, they say, is 90 to 120 milliliters of urine that filters per minute. And you'll read in some places that a rate below 60 mils could mean some kidney damage has occurred. And then you'll read that a normal filtration rate in the elderly is 60 or more. So they're saying right there that, let me repeat, normal 90 to 120, below 60, maybe some damage. But in the elderly, they expect to see 60. So a couple of things here. You may be a certain age, and 60 is kind of normal in that age group. But all of a sudden, you're being told you have really bad kidney disease because you're only 60. And, they haven't taken into account your age. The other aspect of that is as people age, they get calcified. Calcification is one of the signs of aging. So that's another reason why we want to dissolve our calcium so that we don't build up this calcification, cause our kidney filtration to falter, et cetera, et cetera. So when they talk about stage 1 of chronic kidney disease, and that's what they call it, already you're chronic, they say that occurs if you're 90 or greater. So if you're 60, they'll put you down at stage 2 is 60 to 89, and stage 3 is 30 to 59. And all they say in these in the websites, the kidney disease websites, control your blood sugar if you have diabetes. Well, Dr. Fung will say, stop eating sugar products. Just stop it. You can get his book on diabetes. And magnesium deficiency is one of the signs of diabetes. It's in the doctor books, but they don't read those books, so they're not going to tell you. They say to control your blood pressure. And the blood pressure, along with calcification, can cause the kidney arteries to become blocked and the kidneys to be damaged. What controls blood pressure for the most part? Magnesium. Eat a healthy diet, of course, and that means, get rid of the sugar. Don't smoke or use tobacco, and that's good advice for anybody. Be active, exercise in some form 30 minutes a day, at least 5 days a week. Stay a healthy weight. And then they say, ask your doctor if there are medicines you can take to help protect your kidneys. Now, what they will do is they will say, well, with kidney disease, we have to keep track of your diabetes, and maybe we'll put you on metformin, a drug to help, quote, prevent diabetes. And, we'll have to pay special attention to your blood pressure. We don't want you to get blood pressure. Maybe we'll put you on that drug. And, blood pressure and problems with the heart, they can be related to cholesterol. Maybe we'll put you on a statin. So they're always looking for areas where they can get out the prescription pad, because that's all they know how to do, are medical illiterates. And that's the advice all the way through stage 2 kidney disease, stage 3 kidney disease. Then you're talking about getting anemia and creating bone disease even, and that's related to magnesium deficiency when your bones are affected. So it's very unfortunate that when somebody starts on a path of an organ illness, doctors, they have developed the illiterate notion that they aren't going to be able to cure it, and they think that the earlier they can give drugs, the better the patient will feel. They're not going to cure it, but they hope they can slow things down by giving people these preventive drugs. All they tend to do, in our experience with my patients and clients and now customers, is they do make things worse because all these drugs have side effects. And there are lists of drugs that do interfere with kidney function and cause kidney problems. And the questions that came in here, let me just quickly go over them. I probably kind of attended to some of them already. So who's this? Marcia. Marcia says, one neighbor was on dialysis for about a week for some kind of kidney distress after an infection. Now, about 2 months later, she's told her parathyroid hormone is elevated. She's not feeling better with drug therapy and is wondering about taking Remag. I guess with that, Marcia, it just get your neighbor to read my kidney chapter to kind of understand what we said, or listen to this show, because I don't know what certainly I don't know what she went through. If she had an infection, she was on antibiotics, she probably had yeast overgrowth, and yeast toxins may be affecting. And when you have the lower filtration, as I said earlier, parathyroid hormones will kick in and they'll start holding on to more calcium and vitamin D. And a person in that regard does need more magnesium to balance off the calcium. The second neighbor, she says, has been on kidney dialysis for 10 years due to hypertension, denies diabetes and obesity. What about Remag for people on dialysis? And she says, I don't know anything more about their medical history. So again, reading the chapter would be helpful, because certainly this neighbor's probably having magnesium deficiency symptoms from the dialysis and would then know straight away that magnesium could be helpful. Okay, Jean is saying, I've been reading about a possible connection between gut dysbiosis and chronic kidney disease or an end-stage renal disease in some studies. Do you think this is another way to think about the rise in kidney disease? Of course, with the way the gut flora affect the immune system, absorption, serotonin, we find out more and more every day as they're studying the gut flora. So just as I said above, when someone has a kidney infection and they're put on a lot of antibiotics, they will develop yeast overgrowth and an incredible gut flora imbalance. And that's where I'd be recommending reading my yeast book, Reset the Yeast Connection, and taking our Flora Revive, which is a antifungal probiotic, and our Pico Silver. And Pico Silver, I think, is especially useful in people with kidney disease, because it does encourage stem cell production, and those stem cells can go to the kidneys and help new kidney cell formation for the kidney cells that have been damaged. Jean also says the overprescribing of certain medications and their possible subsequent effects over time could be another cause. Exactly. You can just Google, drugs that affect kidney function, and you'll find them. And she says, lastly, would you be willing to talk about the neurological symptoms that can occur in conjunction with this disease? Well, I don't know them particularly or specifically, but certainly when the kidneys when someone's on kidney dialysis, they can be building up toxins in the body, and also the calcium and the phosphorus. They will be on medication, and all that will and can affect neurologic function, brain function. But yes, it's a very important condition, as Jean says. So my chapter in Magnesium Miracle will be helpful. Ginny, I will go to you now. There are a couple of more questions that Melody Rose sent from Zendesk, but let's see what's on chat or on the phones, or if you have some input before we go to those questions.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we will definitely be taking phone calls, area code 415, right after we talk with Dr. Dean here. So hang in there if you do have a question for her, and we'll put you back on the line. A couple questions related to the topic at hand with the kidneys. somewhat. Sonia asked, how will magnesium support the liver? And also, does magnesium do anything for high bilirubin?
The liver, I'm just typing out the question. Well, certainly the liver, if you think about the 80% of no metabolic functions that magnesium is responsible for, then we do have to consider that magnesium is going to support liver function. And high bilirubin, well, bilirubin, that's a breakdown of red blood cells and their end products. I mean, just in terms of helping to clear that, probably magnesium is helpful, but I don't know specifically. I haven't looked at that specifically, Sonia. But magnesium, just have to think about it doing 1,000 enzyme interactions or processes, I should say, and 80% of no metabolic function. And yeah, go ahead, Ginny.
Excellent, excellent. Okay. Some more questions coming through. One of the questions I want to just bring up, that Grant is from BC, is listening with us tonight. He's been a long-standing customer of ours, a wonderful friend over on the Canadian border. And he said he would like to talk to us after the show. But Grant, I'm encouraging you to get a hold of Lorraine at True Health Canada. And I do want to I want to remind everybody that we are distributing Remag from True Health Canada in right now. Lorraine Andrus is doing that for us. The website is reset.truehealthcanada.ca. You can also talk to Lorraine about different health concerns you have as well. So Lorraine would be a good person to reach out to, Grant. Just respond to me that you got this information. Also, the other thing is Jill is asking about Remag and high blood pressure. Do we have a PDF on that, Carolyn? And I'm thinking the Remag booklet is a good way to go.
Yes. It's just called Remag Invisible Minerals Part 1. And I do talk about blood pressure. What happens with the blood that's moving through our blood vessels is it can be kind of contracted upon by blood vessels. When the smooth muscles of the blood vessels tighten up, they will decrease the diameter of the blood vessels, and just biodynamically, I guess you could say, or hemodynamically, they will increase the blood pressure. It's just a physical occurrence. But if you're saturated with your Remag, then those blood vessels, the muscles are going to relax, and your blood pressure straightens itself out. I mean, you think of the blood pressure studies, people have been studied for stress and their blood pressure rises. Ginny tells her story about waiting in the doctor's office for an hour and a half a couple of weeks ago, and her blood pressure was sky high. And, the doctor knows Ginny and said, well, we'll watch it. And it was elevated, but then as Ginny told us last week, she confessed that she had not been sipping her Remag and her minerals throughout the day. She'd been taking them in 2 shots. So that those 2 times she took the shots, the blood vessels probably got relaxed. But then, with her incredibly high pressured lifestyle, throughout the day, her blood vessels, her muscles, everything can tighten up again. So in order to get the nutrients to your cells all day long, you sip your nutrients all day long. I mean, it's just, to me, it was common sense to be able to advise that. And it really did help people when they started to do that. And Ginny said, yep, you're right, Carolyn. Once again. Right, Ginny?
I did, and you're always right, but I was thinking I could be right too, because used Remag for so many years, that I didn't think it was going to be an issue, but that just goes to show
Uh-huh.
you, you get to the point where you are saturated, and I do have a good magnesium
Mm,
RBC. So I'm
mm,
thinking, it's 6.0. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I can just shoot it in the morning, shoot it at night. But that's the
mhm,
one thing about magnesium is it's used so much by the body that probably,
mhm,
on a daily basis, it gets very easily depleted.
mhm. Yes, it's I I don't know that I'd say it's water soluble, but in the sense that the body pushes it out quickly, just so that it won't build up and it won't get high. If it is not in your cells working, it's not going to hang out in your bloodstream. It's going to be dumped in your urine or as a laxative in your bowels. Even the Remag, when I was saturated, at that time, my 3 teaspoons, because I dropped a teaspoon when I took my Remite. I didn't need as much Remag. So 3 teaspoons at a certain point after a year and a half started causing the laxative effect. And I said, oh, I'm saturated. So I weaned back until now I'm on 1 to 1.5 teaspoons, which is like taking the RDA. So we do store it and, we'll pull that out under stress. But, you know, Ginny doesn't have the signs of magnesium that I do, because you really can't tell if your blood pressure is elevated. But when my magnesium drops at a certain level, I'll start getting a heart palpitation. My heart will just thump, and I'll say, "Uh-oh, what have I been doing?" And sometimes it's just eating too much yogurt and giving myself so much calcium that I don't have enough magnesium to deal with that calcium. I mean, and you get to know your body. I mean, everybody on this call, on the chat, knows what I'm talking about. And actually just type in what your experience is, because you do know when you're low, and we do have to remind ourselves to sip it through the day, take more if we're under stress. It's all becoming kind of a natural experiment that we're all in the middle of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are what do you call it, Carolyn? N equals 1?
Right. N is the number in a clinical trial. So, yeah, you're your own clinical trial. Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're going to talk for just a minute with our friend Cheryl, who's quite an animated person on the chat line tonight, Carolyn. I'm going to read you some of her comments. Bless her heart. This is what she says. She says, you were talking earlier about getting rid of sugar. So she says, get rid of sugar. How can you do that? And but she said, I know I need to do that because my body hurts. So she has a lot of inflammation. She has COVID inflammation, but she's guilty of loving sweets. She says, I'm obese. I'm trying to lose weight. I'm sure I have yeast overgrowth. I have issues. I had a gallbladder out. I have a colon polyp taken out. This and this and different things going on. She says she's pre-diabetic and she has fatty liver. So, but then she says Remag has lowered my BP. So that's very good. So I said,
Mhm.
well, that just proves that your body is willing to make these adjustments as you give the building blocks. And she said she's
Mm.
still hoping for lower cholesterol, but she says she's just got to get rid of the sugar. And I'm sure Dr. Dean wholeheartedly agrees. So just off the
Let
top
me no,
of
let
your
me
head,
say,
yeah.
just a few things for Cheryl. What I would do is go after the yeast, because yeast will give you a craving for sugar. And the yeast will be causing 178 different yeast toxins that will cause inflammation and cause gas and bloating, and help cause the weight, and maybe be related to the cholesterol and certainly the pre-diabetes and the fatty liver. You can get fatty liver from sugar. So I would look at our book, Reset the Yeast Connection, go on the yeast management, which is simply the Flora Revive and the Pico Silver. The Flora Revive is an antifungal and a probiotic, so it's going to help you beat down the yeast. And the Pico Silver, it's an anti-infective, and it also helps prevent the Herxheimer reaction. Because what people hated about a yeast protocol was the die-off. They just feel worse because they were killing so much yeast. But the Pico Silver is good about that. Now, when you're doing the yeast management with the Flora Revive and the Pico Silver, you do have to cut back on sugar somewhat. You can't be feeding it on one end and killing it on the other. But that's where I would start and use the book as your guidance, fill out the questionnaire, see how what your levels are like, look at all the symptoms that you have that are related to yeast, and just, tackle the yeast. So there.
Excellent. Very good. Very good. And Cheryl, you can comment back on that. Also, I have to say, our customer support team, I think we've walked tens of thousands of people through this process of going on this yeast overgrowth, dealing with this. Our staff has had the experience. Our support team is very good. And there are days when, you don't want to do it and all the rest of this, and it's challenging to get yourself kicked off sometimes. But the transformation is really, really, really important. And so you don't have to feel like you have to do it on your own. You can, enroll the support of our customer support team and let them know what you're up to, and they'll help you. We're here for you. We can't take the actions for you, but we can definitely support in that regard. Do you agree, Carolyn?
Yes, and I was just thinking, every once in a while you'll tell me about one of the staff. Now we have customer service staff, we have warehouse staff, we have production staff, so there are different levels. But don't you think that our customer service staff, that they're the most vigilant about their products and about their protocols and their health, because they're constantly hearing what people are doing, say, wrong, and that reinforces what they're doing right. What do you think about that?
I think so. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because they are day in and day out talking to customers, and they know, and they do, again, have that experience. So I do agree with you. And our warehouse team is pretty diligent because they are pushing out so much physical energy.
Right.
The worst offenders are the salespeople.
Ah.
I'm just kidding, because Jackie, she, those products saved her life. All you have to do is have your life saved by Dr. Dean, and you're pretty diligent for sure.
Oh, yeah. Very good. Okay. Yeah, you can keep going. I know they're still clicking. It's slightly driving me crazy. I wish we knew what it was, and, I hope it doesn't ruin our recording, but let's keep going.
Okay, well, now I fixed what was wrong before. There shouldn't be any clicking. And I did go already and order a new headset. So it's on the way. But hopefully it's not me anymore, because I did fix what originally could have been clicking. So let's see. Maybe I won't breathe.
I do have some blog questions from Zendesk. So if you don't have any more chat, can I just go to some of those?
Absolutely.
Okay. Who's it? Jenny is saying, I've had a kidney removed because of kidney cancer. I'm experiencing low kidney function in the remaining kidney, stage 3. And she says stage 3 failure. I mean, it's just a terrible word. It's your filtration is slow. It's not failure. Terrible word. I just received your Remag, but I'm fearful of causing faster decline in kidney function. Would you recommend taking it for someone with declining kidney function? So I think I've answered all that, and customer service has already sent the kidney section to Jenny. So if she's listening tonight, just read the section. You have questions, just get back to us. And you know what's beautiful about the Remag, it's in drop form, so you can just start taking a few drops, and as you start feeling better and realize you're feeling better, then you'll take more and get up to, you know, maybe 2 teaspoons a day, sip throughout the day. Dave is saying, I'm a diabetic and have already experienced kidney damage, with recommendations that the damaged kidney possibly be removed. What you do if you had chronic kidney disease? Is it safe to use magnesium and protein shakes and other supplements? Thank you for your help. Customer service sent the kidney section for Dave to get educated, and basically it's taking our nutrients to support the structure and function of the body. He's asking about protein because that's another thing they tell people to cut back on is protein, because the filtration is so weakened, you can lose protein through the urine, and that's one of the signs of kidney disease. But it's mainly supporting the structure and function of the cells. And so Dave will read the chapter and get back to us. Danny is asking if we have a protocol for kidney stones. Yes, it's in the kidney section. He received the kidney stone section from our Future Health Now encyclopedia, and it is a matter of increasing your fluid intake and taking your Remag and cutting back on calcium products. And the last one from Zendesk is polycystic kidney disease. We just found out our daughter-in-law has this condition. Her mother had it as well. It's heartbreaking. I'm wondering if Dr. Dean knows anything that might help stave off the disease or keep her kidneys healthy enough to prevent a transplant. See, that's what people think when they're told about kidney failure and this and that. I remember one of our very first kidney customers. She owned a stable. She was a horsewoman, and she was talking to us about magnesium for her horses and for her polycystic kidney disease. And she just did better and better. Her measures got better and better as she was taking the Remag and the Remite and the Realign. So it's a matter of reading the chapter and then seeing if there are more questions as they come up, as a person, you know, gets through their fear that they've been given by their doctors about magnesium. And that's what this particular show is about, is making people feel safer about taking magnesium in the midst of their kidney problems. Right, Ginny?
Absolutely. And I think we're doing a darn good job. That's what I say. Okay, so we're 2 minutes from the top of the hour. Let me just let you know we are taking phone calls next hour at 646-558-8656. And the ID number 8836953587 is on the YouTube. It's in our emails. It's right here on the chat line. And Deborah's posted it on the other chat line. So you can get a hold of us. We've got callers waiting right now, hands raised. If you're on the line and you want to talk to Dr. Dean, please hit *9 on your keypad, and we will put you on the phone with her after we return back from this very brief station identification.
Hour 2 of the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show, along with host Ginny Sanders, right after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com. That's drcarolyndean.com.
Did you know there are 65 health conditions associated with magnesium deficiency? Magnesium deficiency is a public health crisis growing in scope and proportion. Dr. Carolyn Dean, author of The Magnesium Miracle, has identified over 65 health conditions associated with magnesium deficiency, 100 factors that lead to magnesium deficiency, and 24 reasons why magnesium deficiency occurs. Order The Magnesium Miracle today at Amazon.com and learn how to remedy this pervasive condition.
Do you have questions about your health? Are you wondering about alternatives? Do you ever wish you could have 5 minutes with a doctor you can trust? Someone who is an internationally recognized authority in the field of natural medicine? Meet award-winning doctor, naturopath, and best-selling author of The Magnesium Miracle, Carolyn Dean, MD, ND. Hear a wealth of information designed to empower listeners and callers to discover how to improve health, vitality, and well-being through a variety of safe strategies and nutritional options. Dr. Carolyn Dean Live. Shows can be heard every Monday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern, with weekly live shows, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time on syndicated Dreamvisions 7 radio network.
Natural health, vitality, and well-being. Yes, everyone wants it, but not everyone is sure how to achieve it. Dr. Carolyn Dean's Completement Formulas are more than just dietary supplements. They're whole foods and picometer minerals designed to complete your nutrition, not just supplement it. Experience the difference Dr. Dean's formulas make. Visit RNAreset.com to learn more. That's RNARESET.com.
Omega Institute, offering workshops, retreats, and online learning dedicated to awakening the best in the human spirit. With more than 40 years at the forefront of holistic studies, Omega is known the world over as a trusted source for integrated approaches to personal growth and social change. Located in Rhinebeck, New York, just 90 miles north of New York City, Omega's natural environment and quiet pace allow for extraordinary experiences to unfold. Learn more at eomega.org or call 877-944-2002. Again, 877-944-2002.
This is Dreamvision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
Return now to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show, along with her host, cohort, and good buddy, Ginny Sanders. Phone lines are open during live broadcast.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 of Dr. Carolyn Dean Live here on Dreamvision 7 Radio Network. And I am sitting perfectly still, knowing that I will not click at all this hour. Sorry for the clicking intrusions. We will have it all scraped out magically somehow. But anyway, thanks, everybody. Welcome back, Hour 2. And we're so happy to be here with Dr. Carolyn Dean, who has much to say on the topic of health. And that's medical health, like allopathic medicine, that's natural medicine, and everything in between. And she's here this hour to answer your questions. Of course, reminding you this is not a health advice show, but she loves to tell you what she would do if she's been in your position, as she has been many times. Also, a brief reminder that if you hear something in the recording, our podcast that you have questions about, please email questions, questions, at drcarolyndeanlive.com, and the lovely Melody Rose will help you find your answer or put you in touch with Dr. Dean. Carolyn, what would you like to say at the top of this hour?
Bob liked my comment on the medical illiterates. He likes when I give a dig at the lesser medical beings out there who have totally ignored 75% of health. Totally ignored it. Oh, Bob said a bad word, but that's why he's not on the show anymore.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, how can they do that? And then, I'll listen to some of these not talk shows, but I don't know, informative shows on the internet where people are claiming to know things and be smart and all the rest of it. And, you hear over time, I've got asthma. My blood pressure. And they're snorking away with allergies. And it's just ridiculous. And, I want to type into their forums and say, you are a smart person, but you're medically illiterate because you act like taking your drugs for your blood pressure and your asthma and your allergies are the only treatment possibility. Here's Bob.
I won't swear.
Okay.
But I'll say this, Ginny, you work with the only doctor on the planet. Really, it's true.
And that was Bob's first and foremost comment.
Yeah, and when you were talking in the first hour with the blog, what do you call it? Kidney stuff and all that. I mean, it's so profound. It's way beyond what anybody else says, anywhere, in any field in medicine.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah. Where's Ginny? How come she's not agreeing with me?
Ginny, agree with Bob so I can get rid of him.
I know I am agreeing, and I believe it, and I've experienced it, and I do agree, because as we know, one of the things that a doctor requires is actual knowledge about how the body works, and our bodies are totally aligned with nature. And Carolyn walks her talk. Literally, I see her up walking at 5:30 in the morning in Maui for her 4-mile, 5-hour walk or whatever to strengthen her bones. There's not one piece of information that she gives on this show that she does not herself do. And therefore, she has a difficult time not tolerating doctors that don't do the same, and also sometimes supporting people who are unwilling to make the choices that they need to make in order to have that health freedom. So she does her walk, she talks her talk, she knows what she's talking about, and she understands our relationship with nature and why it is biologically imperative to do the things that she recommends. So I agree with you completely, Bob. I feel very fortunate to work with her, and I feel very fortunate for all the people who tune in and the people who get to talk to her every week as well.
Yeah, Ginny, I came up with a theory that young kids in college and then go into med school. I know back 40, 50 years ago, the amount of reading Carolyn had to do in school. I mean, incredible hours of reading the medical literature as a student. I don't think young people can read as much. They get too many other media. They don't have the same time. So we're actually making doctors, maybe this is what, when I said this the other day, where she got the idea of medical illiterates, they don't read the whole range of literature that you need to do to be a excellent medical student. It's not there anymore. Probably the exams are a lot easier than what Carolyn went through. So we're dealing with kids who know nothing really the way doctors did 50, 80 years ago.
I agree with you, Bob. And I think what happens, and no, I don't even think I know what happens, is that they get into their specialties. All they want to do is graduate their basic medical course to get into a very specialized field. So unlike Carolyn, who had to go through and learn the entire body and all of its parameters, these guys right now go in their first 3 years, they're trying to get through their labs and their biology classes, and then they want to go right into cardiology or right into this or right into that and ignore the rest of the body. And these kind of specializations is why they don't have a holistic approach. And then once they get into their chute, so to speak, of their specialization, then what happens is the drug companies take over and they immediately start pushing drugs and devices. And that's the end of the student.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good.
They specialize too much.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what's my, my go-to phrase about specialists.
More, less and less.
The scientist rigorously defends his or her right to be ignorant of most everything except their own specialty. So yes, that's a perfect definition of what's happening now, is these specialists don't have a clue about the cells or any other part of the body other than their specialist organ.
Right at a time where our digital environment makes everything interrelated.
Yeah. And the kids, they're busy on their phones and their apps, and they just fall into recipe medicine. And with the way the drugs are just flowing out, all these new biologic drugs, I do my continuing medical education every 2 years. I do 50 hours just to try to keep up with some of the names. But I cannot imagine how doctors can do it. But you're exactly right, Ginny. They do it by just focusing on their specialty, because you can't learn the drugs for 12 different body systems. You just have to specialize in one, and then you end up forgetting the other. And like you've said a couple of times, doctors don't even learn about nature. I mean, our focus, or one of our focuses, is on the soil and on our natural fertilizer. Ginny and Greg are coming to Maui, and we're setting up another round of agricultural experiments to try to, not even to try, but just to show the importance of the soil and what we can do as a group, as a company, to promote soil management. So that's one of our big programs that we don't really talk about too much, but we're definitely all about the agriculture.
Absolutely. And one of the things, another thing that, you do beautifully is the whole piece of education, and how many doctors really try to educate their people, and also to the point of, challenge me if you don't understand it, or etc., to lay it out biologically why what I'm recommending is appropriate, and then to support it with science. And here's another thing. Most of the time you go to the doctor, you're there 10 minutes, they're slicing something off your arm before you even know what the hell is happening. They're throwing it in a lab. They call you 24 hours later, tell you to take something. You don't see them again. And there's absolutely no education. And not only that, there's no root cause involved. They're not trying to say, okay, you're here, but let's modify the choice point where you actually got on the path that leads you to here, so that you can have a different result.
Right.
So there's so much education that you do that doctors don't do. Not all doctors. We have great doctors who work on the RNA Reset Pro side. I must say some of our doctors, Dr. Princetta for one, he's a massive educator. I mean, Dr. Matthews is a massive educator. Pam Shervanek. I mean, we have great doctors who do educate, but we're talking about the broad allopathic doctor that's just has already, and what happened with COVID, so many of them got bought up into hospital systems. They
Right.
could not support their practices because of what happened and their financial obligations and burdens. The hospital
Mhm.
systems just came through and sucked them up.
Right. That's right. Another downside to COVID, and actually just jumping into COVID for a second, I wanted to reinforce the words that I told people about our friend Catherine, who makes beautiful vases, decoupage and crystal vases, and sent me one on my birthday. And she told me she had mold in the house, and I sent her an ozone machine because if you've had yeast overgrowth, if you've been on antibiotics and you're exposed to mold, you really have to clean up your house. So I wanted to make sure people understood that who've had COVID or who've been on antibiotics, that you really have to pay attention to cleaning up any mold in your environment. And you can help that process by buying a very simple ozone machine. You go to one of my blogs, I think it's called Black Mold. So Dr. Carolyn Dean and Black Mold. And I think that's one of the reasons why at least 20% of people who've had COVID will have lingering symptoms. Now, this is what most people with any bad flu will have. 20% will have lingering symptoms. It's really nothing new to COVID. These are the people that we on the holistic medical side have been treating ever since these symptoms came about. But the chronic fatigue people that have been ignored for a couple of decades, and now it's become recognized that, with this onslaught of the infection and people, um, uh, doctor people, the medical establishment being exposed to the trajectory of what happens with all these influenza people. They cannot deny the fact that 20% of them continue to have symptoms. They can no longer say it's psychosomatic. And they're acting like they've just discovered it, which is ridiculous because it's been around and there are ways to treat it. There are no drugs to treat post-COVID. What you have to do is treat with nutrients. And again, I call out the medical illiterates who won't say take your vitamin C and your vitamin D. I mean, doctors are so crazy about nutrients because they never learned anything about them. They want to see the science, but they won't read the science. There's tens of thousands of research papers on nutrients and the benefits, but actually the pharmaceutical establishment just pushes the negative studies and makes doctors feel that they don't have to get involved with nutrients because there's no science behind it. It's just criminal. But anyway, I shall turn back the microphone, get off my soapbox, and over to you, Ginny.
Well, I think it's important that people understand the things that inspire and motivate you because you are living a full-on authentic expression of the truth of who you really are. Very few people do that. And, for them to understand your mind about how you look at things, I think it's very important. I know it inspires me. It always has because you're a very unique thinker. Your husband's a very unique talker. So it makes sense that you would both be that way. But, I just think it's good. So we will press on with our phone calls. Thank you for sharing that tonight, Dr. Dean. And again, if you're on the phone and you want to talk with our absolutely delicious Dr. Dean, you know the number 646-558-8657 and then the ID 8836953587 is on our YouTube and all other places here at Dream Vision 7 as well. And we've got callers waiting, so shall we press on?
Yes, please press on.
Okay, let's go to our first caller this evening, area code 719. If you could hit *6 to unmute your phone, area code 719. There you are.
Hello. Hi. Hi,
Hey.
Jenny. Hi, Dr. Dean.
Hello,
This is
hello.
Caroline.
I missed that. Say your first name again.
Pamela.
Oh, hi, Pamela. Yes, go ahead.
I have a couple of questions. This past week, I, for some reason, all of a sudden started having a whole bunch of heart palpitations again.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing well for quite a while. And then I had 2 days last week, and then this weekend I had 3 days in a row solid with heart palpitations for 3 days, and I've never had that before. And it just it depletes my energy. I can't do anything, and so it's very disturbing.
So what did you figure that was the trigger? What have you come up with?
I don't know, other than, stress, but I don't think that that's too much different than it's always been. I just quit working, retired, but that doesn't disturb me a lot. So I don't think it was that. I don't know what's doing it.
Well, I mean, I don't know, Pamela. So I'm just going to say, though, when someone retires, it's a huge shift. It's a huge change in a person's life. And, it can be positive stress or it can be negative stress, but it's still, kind of a strain. It takes your energy. You're wondering, it's a whole new world. I think I would put the quote blame on that. Perhaps I would think about talking to our friend Dr. David Holt in the total biology world to help see if that is a conflict that your heart is recognizing. That's what I would say.
Well, that's interesting. I also have going along with that is a feeling of breathlessness. And I never know what to do for that. Do you have any suggestions?
Sometimes it's people who, when a person's under stress, okay, think of it this way. When someone comes behind you and shouts out, you'll do a sharp intake of breath. You go, and that lifts the diaphragm and jams the diaphragm up under the lungs. And it's that in a chronic way that causes people to feel that shortness of breath or can't take a deep breath. So that's where the breathing exercises come in, where you lie on your back and you put a little, just a piece of paper, a little booklet on your tummy, and you play with it rising and falling. The belly breath, which indicates that your diaphragms are dropping and your lungs are filling out. That's why people say when you're under stress, take 10 deep breaths. It's all about the breath. And when your breath gets caught up in your throat, that will cause a shortness of breath or breathlessness. Does that sound about it?
Well, I've been working with the belly breathing because of it. And when it happens, I do that. I thought it was somehow a lack of oxygen getting into my body.
Yeah. Well, what people call it is air hunger. So it's like you're hungry for air. You can't get enough. It's a stress reaction. It is holding your breath, for fear of da da da. It's all part of.
Okay, so then is there something, nutritionally that I can do to help that kind of thing? I keep
No,
thinking, well, what do I do for it?
no, I mean, Remag is always going to help by relaxing the muscles of the diaphragm and making sure they don't tighten up too much. But it's more about addressing what is the conflict that's making me, hold my breath or put my, the air hunger. What am I missing? What has caused, what's the conflict that's caused me to think that I'm not getting enough oxygen? Where's my air coming from? If I left my job, did my job give me the air and the expansion that I needed? And now that I don't have a job, do I feel less? All that comes into play and needs to be talked about.
Okay, all right. I'll have to think about that some more then.
And you can do it on your own. You don't have to talk to anyone, but just once you acknowledge these things, write it down, and then it's out of your head and onto paper, and then you release it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I have one other thing I want to ask about, and that is that I think it's sinus drainage that causes me to sneeze and cough a lot. And this goes on year round. I don't feel like it's allergies. So I just don't know what to do about that. But the sneezing and coughing drives me crazy.
Yeah, well, sinus drainage, I mean, our sinuses are pretty awesome things, but they can get blocked up and clogged and irritated and all the rest of it. So what you do there is get that little nasal syringe pump I've talked about before, and put your Pico Silver in it and squeeze that into your nostrils several times a day and get rid of whatever's going on in there.
Okay, I have been doing that, but I haven't done it several times a day. Maybe I just got to do it more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So, and you'll get back to us and let us know how that goes. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Doctor.
You're welcome, Pamela. And you're on the right track. You're doing great. You're doing all the right things. I'm just saying, do more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, very good. And going on to our next phone call, area code 845-845. If you hit *6 on your phone, it'll bring you into the call, area code 845. Go ahead, you're on with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Yeah, hi, my name is Rhoda, and I have a question. I notice on blood tests given they have calcium, sodium, potassium, chloride, and so on, and protein, but I don't see where it says magnesium. So I wanted to know, do I have to ask the doctor to test me for magnesium, or why isn't it ever on there?
I know, it's pretty silly, Rhoda, because magnesium is so important that the body is always going to keep it at a certain level to protect the heart. The feedback system in the bloodstream is that if magnesium drops a little bit, we drag magnesium out of the stores in our muscles and our bones. So over time, doctors doing this simple serum magnesium test have said, oh, it's always the same. Why bother with it? I mean, it's just criminal. Whereas that's a serum test. Whereas an ionized magnesium test, if they did that, it would show the fluctuations because that's the magnesium going into the cells.
When you say ionized test, is it the same? They would draw the blood and just use it and have it say ionized testing for magnesium?
Unfortunately not. It's only in research laboratories. Our university studies that our company is doing, we're trying to prove that ionized magnesium tests are better. So it's going to take a while to get that going. intermediate test is the RBC test, red blood cell magnesium test. Now, what we can do, Rhoda, is set you up with a free kit
Oh,
to do.
excuse me a moment. You said RBC. I'm looking here, and on one of the tests here, it does say CBC with differential platelets, WBC, RBC. Is that what you're talking about?
It would have to say RBC magnesium.
Oh, and it doesn't say that. Okay. I've been
Right.
taking your magnesium liquid, and I'm finding I find that the blood pressure is better, incidentally. But the only thing I didn't realize until you mentioned it today is the fact to take it during the day. I like to usually gulp it all down and say I'm finished, but I guess you're telling us not to do it that way, to continue to take it,
Yes.
which is that's a very interesting point you made. Okay.
Right.
So
So what I was
there's
saying,
really
yeah, the red blood cell magnesium test, we can give you a home test kit that will test your magnesium, omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, and TSH, if you would like. And
I have the others. The one I don't have is the magnesium. Everything else is okay, but I don't.
okay.
I just didn't know what the whether or not to ask for the test when I next take a blood test.
And you can ask for it and say, I don't want a serum test. I would like an RBC magnesium test because I hear that it's better. And even then, Rhoda, when you get the test, you want your levels to be in the upper limit, the upper levels rather than
Right.
in the lower or mid, because we want to, we want to be saturated. We don't want to have low levels like the rest of the population.
The magnesium, so you're stressing that more because it's very interesting. And as far as the quantity, you also said, I used to think that 2 to 1, twice the calcium to 1 to the magnesium, but you stressed in your book as well that 1 to 1, rather 1 to 1. In other
Correct.
words, for 500 milligrams or 600 milligrams. I know the calcium I take is 600, and the liquid I'm taking from you would be about a teaspoon a day.
A teaspoon is 300 milligrams of our recalcia. And, most people are getting at least 300 in their diet. And, I take 1 teaspoon plus I get the rest in my diet. And magnesium, if people don't have obvious magnesium deficiency symptoms, I just say 2 teaspoons of Remag. But if you're still suffering from, inflammation, headaches, insomnia, muscle spasms, heart palpitations, any symptoms, you take more until the symptoms are gone. And it's more about your symptoms rather than the blood test, because the blood test.
Yes, I hear what you're saying. And there was also one myth. It is a myth. Probably tell me if I'm correct about magnesium. If a man takes it, it would be too much for a man to take too much magnesium. It would harden the heart. Am I incorrect?
Oh gosh, totally. I mean, wipe that out of your mind.
Did you ever hear that though?
No,
because
that I've
years
heard
ago.
I've heard a lot, but I haven't heard that because magnesium.
Oh, okay. Thank you for telling me.
Magnesium helps keep calcium soluble. We've become very calcified. And this 2 to 1 calcium to magnesium ratio, that was a mistranslation from a French magnesium.
Yes, I read that. I read you said that. Yes, I saw that.
Right.
I was very intrigued. I just recently read it with you. Thank you. Appreciate you said that. Well, anyway, I've been taking it. Thank you very much. I've been taking the magnesium, and I continue to. Also, the B vitamins. Also, I
good for you.
Started to subscribe with you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for calling in.
Continue wonderful work.
I will. Okay. Just because you told me to, I'll do it just for you, Rhoda.
Thank you.
Okay, bye, hon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, Rhoda gave me permission. Rhoda gave me permission to continue with our world-conquering project.
Yes, she did. That was very sweet of her.
Very nice. Good questions. I love it. And people are reading the book and getting the information and just clarifying. The 2 to 1, what what this doctor said was never take more than 2 parts calcium to 1 part magnesium. Never take more than that. And it was translated, oh, that's what we have to take. I can't tell you how many people still think that because it's all over the literature. And most of the supplements used to be 2 to 1. It's only recently that they've started to go 1 to 1.
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of times when they make these pill and powder formulas, they're poorly absorbed anyway. And then they add other things like CalMag zinc or whatever that business is, and that throws it off even more. So it's best to stick with Remag and Recalcia for sure.
Yes. Okay, what do we have now?
Okay, if you're on the line and you want to talk to Dr. Dean, you've got to hit *9 on your keypad to raise your hand here in the studio. And that way I know you have a question or comment and I'll put you on with Dr. Dean. Otherwise, you can call in 646-558-8657. The number again being on YouTube and the radio station and in our emails. I do not have any callers waiting for you at this particular moment, so we can press on with other important things.
Okay, here's a little sidebar rant. I titled this for myself, Science Continues to Avoid Magnesium. So this is in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology just this year, titled Vitamin D, Calcium Supplements and Implications for Cardiovascular Health. And need I mention that nowhere in this huge long article, 12 pages in a journal is a lot of pages, nowhere do they mention magnesium.
Oh my gosh.
Nothing.
Oh my gosh.
So
oh my gosh.
They're talking about the implications for cardiovascular health and not mentioning magnesium. And that's what they do all the time. So it's like they're in this completely illiterate world where they're just looking at a quarter of the landscape and missing the 3/4. God. So let me just say some of these words. Well, go to the conclusion. They say, although vitamin D does not appear to be harmful to cardiovascular health, the lack of demonstrable benefit of supplementation should discourage its use for that purpose, favoring optimizing vitamin D through dietary intake and modest sunlight exposure, and reserving vitamin D supplements only for documented 25-OHD deficiency, vitamin D deficiency. Now, haven't we found in 90% of our customers who do the grassroots health testing for vitamin D that they're deficient? So please, how do they get these, words? And then they say calcium supplements are widely used for optimizing bone health. However, studies have emerged that suggest potential for cardiovascular harm. Yes, that's the half dozen studies by Dr. Boland, Bolland, out of, I think it was New Zealand. I have it all documented in my book. He started just to do surveys on women who were taking calcium supplements and found the incidence of cardiovascular disease was escalating. So yes, straight calcium is not good. So he said, therefore, calcium supplementation should be used cautiously and judiciously, and achievement of recommended daily allowances of calcium from dietary food sources should be encouraged. All these wordy words doesn't give anyone any help, really, and especially when you know that vitamin D requires magnesium in order for it to be activated and effective. Calcium requires magnesium in order for it not to be deposited in soft tissues and in order for it to be absorbed and then directed to the bones and teeth. So they're missing the most important factor in both instances. And then they come up with these wishy-washy conclusions that conclude nothing. That's the state of our medical illiterates of today. I
Wow.
rest my case.
Wow. 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 That's just so overwhelming because so many people are going to read that information and use it to support their current position. There's not going to find any
Mhm.
information that's going to give them a reason to consider something new.
Uh-huh. Right, right. And it lends authority to them saying, well, supplements, they don't help. Don't bother, because they never put in the whole picture. They forget or ignore 3/4 of the picture. So it's all a bunch of crap, Judy. It's all a bunch of crap. Can I continue, or have you got something?
I've got a caller, but I do want to tell you this testimonial too really quick. So our good friend Nikki's sister had to have a double mastectomy, and she was feeling very tired and weary. And after she went through her chemo and everything and had all this stuff. And so she got cleared of everything. And she told Nikki, she said, I should be really happy, but I'm so tired. And I said, have them check her magnesium and her vitamin D status. So, of course, her vitamin D was 12.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And she had her magnesium was like 4.3.
Mm-hmm.
So they wrote her the prescription for the 50,000, blah, blah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to go back and forth and negotiate with that. And then, of course, she got the Remag, which Nikki actually bought for her. And so now she's doing really well. But what's funny is she took the Remag into her oncologist and said, do you know, I'm not supposed to take this, meaning the vitamin D prescription, without this. And they're like, where did you get that half-baked idea? And she's like, from this. And she had printed off research papers and information, and they were just like, what?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool.
Well, that's how, let me just finish off that's how Carol Baggerly at Grassroots Health even began her Grassroots Health company and testing. She had breast cancer. And then when she did her research after and realized her vitamin D was low, she thought, this is crazy. Women just aren't being told about their vitamin D. And then, when she found us through Dr. Mercola, actually, she realized the importance of magnesium with the vitamin D. So I guess a few people are waking up, which is wonderful.
And it's interesting because the corollary to women and breast cancer is men and prostate cancer. And the women, being the little worker bees that they are, and to your point, Carolyn, about your total body reset for men, the women get proactive and they organize stuff and they get their little pink flags rolling. And the next thing you know, you got Susan Komen and all kinds of other stuff. And the guys are sitting around with prostate cancer, corollary relationship to the vitamin, D deficiency in women in the reproductive aspect, and they still can't get their poop together. So we got to help these guys get it together about this prostate cancer and being on 10,000 IUs a minimum a day, D3, K2, and also the omegas.
Yeah, and I would even say preventatively, what Grassroots Health has found out is men should be up at 90 nanograms per whatever mil. The range they want the average person to be is 40 to 60. But if you have a cancer, they want you up to 90, or cancer history. And, how many times have we heard medicine say, well, the older you get, the more likely you are to have prostate cancer. Okay, well, let's prevent it. Is it a vitamin D and magnesium deficiency that finally catches up to a person? So, yes, that's I should, make that the first chapter in the men's book that I'm writing right now. I didn't want to write a men's health book. Ginny kept asking me, "Where's the men's health book?" Because I know men don't care about their health. I'm sorry, it's true. I know you're laughing, but it's true. So I'm writing a book for women who take care of their men.
And any man who's within the sound of Dr. Dean's voice can absolutely defend that and convince her otherwise. If you are so inclined, send your emails to questions@drcarolyndean.com
All right.
and say, Dr. Dean, you're wrong. I do care about my health and I make good health choices. And I listen to you, Dr. Dean. And you can wrestle her down on that point. I'm not so convinced.
And I'll quote you in the book. Just go for the quote.
That's right. That's right. Go for the quote. Very good. All right. I think we have a call-in guest here who would like to talk with you. So let's do that, shall we?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay. They just sent you the little blue unmute your phone, *6, your phone. It says call in user. I don't have a phone number associated with your phone call tonight. Call in user. I'm sending you the blue unmute your phone. Okay, call in user. I'm sending you the blue unmute. *6 if you're on the phone to talk to Dr. Dean. Okay, I think we're having a little communication. There you go. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hi. I've never done this in my life. I am very bad on technology, like the worst. I have a few questions. I'm 68. I have chronic fatigue, anxiety. I started your Remag, but I'm feeling very sleepy, very cold hands and feet. I live in a region where it's cold. I used to live in Southern California. And then I was reading stuff about your drops, and I don't know, it said something about channeling. I'm very confused. It's like, who is this Ion? And I don't know where I got onto this thing, but can you explain these drops or something, or
well,
what's going on?
I mean, that's a huge conversation, and it doesn't at this stage, and with the minutes we have left.
Okay.
Let's talk to you about your chronic fatigue, anxiety, sleepiness.
Right. Like I can't concentrate. I had a mother that was nervous, a father that was nervous, and the doctors don't get it. I have bone on my back. I don't take any pain pills. I'm drinking your water. I'm putting the stuff in, but I have the cataract. I don't know what to do first. Let's put it that way. I'm all over the place.
Okay.
And I'm not 50 pounds overweight. I'm too thin, but I'm freaked at every minute. My mother died of ovarian cancer. My dad died of liver cancer. They say I have fatty liver. I don't want to do the stool sample. It's just like, I'm one of these almost like autistic savants that's very intuitive. So I pick up energy from the planet very quickly. So
right. Okay, here's what it's my turn. I know exactly what you're saying in a sense, because I've heard this type of story forever. I call it total body meltdown. So instead of defining, what are your conditions or even what are your symptoms, we just go right to the minerals that will support you at the cellular level. We'll look at your cells as not being strong enough to take care of all these symptoms. And the Total Body Meltdown booklet, you can look at that to see what I'm talking about. But it goes into, cold hands and feet. That can be the thyroid. Anxiety. That can be the adrenal glands. The poor
I have your book, the Candida thing. And unfortunately, I took that deadly vaccine because all the people in my world are into that crap, and I'm not. And I felt like I sold out to Big Pharma one more time. I've never had a flu shot in my life. So here I am, like lost between a rock and a hard place. I'm pacing, I'm thin. I don't want to walk and take a walk in the sun. My eyes are bothering me. I have your book about Candida. but my brain is zapping all over the place.
Got
I
it.
eat chips.
Okay, here's what we do. Here's what we do, because you've got to talk this out, talk it through. And we, again, we don't have the minutes for you. I'm going to hook you up with one of our people, Melody Rose or Julie, so that they can talk with you. And just,
I spoke with Julie. I did speak with Julie.
Okay, so keep that conversation going, because you'll have to go step by step. I don't know where you are, like how much Remag are you?
I'm up to 2 teaspoons of that. I've been on it 10 weeks, and I ordered the B stuff because I have that MTHFR mutation.
Right.
So I ordered these, and I ordered, and I'm a senior with limited funds, so I get nervous, and I have the silver, and I can't put in too much sea salt, because what happens, Dr. Dean, is when I use the Remag and put in more sea salt, my throat is very, very dry. Does that make sense? It gets very dry, the back of my throat.
It implies that you just need more water. Did you get the Remite for your thyroid?
Yes. I ordered, this is what I ordered, the Remite. I ordered the more Remag and the Realign, because I have to be,
And what we'll tell Julie is to discuss with you and give you some of our samples. We'll help you out so that you can get some of your products, because
that's okay. Thank you. And I've also been in touch with Corinne. She's an amazing soul, wonderful person.
Yes.
Wonderful, amazing, heart of gold, amazing person.
Right.
Amazing.
So I'm
doing the best I can. I just feel like I'm in meltdown mode. It's like I just feel like I'm hysterical all over. This has been going on my whole life. It's just I feel like I'm misunderstood in the world. I can't explain it. I think it's my teeth. I just feel like I'm like an experiment for the doctors, and it's like I don't want to get into their hands. I wish I could like move and be like in a little commune with you and like-minded people to get restored to health, so that the good Lord could give me 5 or 10 more years of health on the planet. I don't need to be here for 900.
And we will do the best we can to support you, because if you make a regular appointment once a week to talk to one of our people, tell us the progress you've made, and we just go step by step. Partly, I think you're afraid you're not going to have enough money to buy the products, so we'll give you some products to help.
I just get nervous I'm not going to make it, and that's what scares me, guys. I just feel like there's too much going on in the world, and the thing with me is I'm an empath. I pick up energy really quickly, and I don't like it about myself, Dr. Dean. I don't like it.
It's okay. We have many people who are in the same boat,
but I didn't want to be this sensitive. I didn't want to be this sensitive on this planet and all that's going on. I just don't want to be an empath. I don't want it anymore. I'm tired of it.
Okay. So we're going to stop now. Have you?
Okay. Thank you.
Have you done the affirmation? Have you done, what is it? The small property?
No, just to let you know, Dr. Dean, I'm very bad on technology because I have an eye-brain imbalance. Sometimes I think I have a brain tumor. I'm like dyslexic.
It's okay, but you know what you're doing to yourself by talking. You have to talk to me about these things so I understand. But at a certain point, you're saying too many negative words about your own body, and that is, you got to stop that. Every time you find yourself doing that, you have to say some positive things, because being an empath, an empath, you are reinforcing the negative.
I don't know how to be positive. Yes, correct. And very angry, jealous, and I'm all over the place.
Right. So we're going to set you up once a week to talk to one of our people. You do it regularly so that you don't, go into a bottomless pit. You don't have to do that. So you have Julie and Corinne's contact. So
I even spoke with Doug. I spoke to Doug on the phone for an hour at a time. It's just like I've spoken to everybody. I've spoken to people. I've been on this. I went on the thing one time, and then I went off it, the Remag, and then I went back on it now because I'm cold, and they think I have lupus.
So what we're going to do, hang on. I don't want any more negative words. What we're going to do is at Ginny's next customer service staff meeting, They're going to figure out.
I love to speak to Corinne. She's very soothing to talk to. She's very, very aware.
We're going to figure out, though, so that everybody has to be on board of how they're going to relate to you. We're not going to let you talk negative stuff. We're only going to ask you to tell us how you're improving, what you're taking, how you're adding things, how things are getting better for you, because that's what.
You there? Hello? The phone stopped.
She is here. She is here. Go ahead and give me your name because I didn't catch it at the beginning. This is Ginny.
Oh, sorry, Ginny. Okay. Hi, Ginny. It's Shelley, Shelley.
Okay, that's it. You're back, Carolyn. That's all I need is Shelley. Okay, go ahead, Carolyn.
Okay. It cut out. Sorry.
So we're going to put you on a sort of a program so that everyone understands you're not allowed to call in and talk negative for an hour to Doug. You have to tell us how you're improving, because everybody improves. What I was saying is Melody Rose, one of our customer service people, total impact, totally exactly the same. Struck by lightning, ended up bedridden for years on 20 medications. She is now, traveling around the world. You can do it. You just have to, I'm not saying you just have to do whatever. We don't know exactly what you have to do, but we know.
I have to breathe. Grateful and thankful.
Right.
No, I'm not kidding. I've had positive people around me, Dr. Dean, and the thing is, I just don't know. I feel like I'm just okay. I feel
very
like
good. You stopped yourself. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, Ginny. So you'll talk to the team about how we'll approach Shelley and her support.
Yep. And Shelley, you will hear from somebody on the team. They will make an appointment with you, and we will lay out some ground rules, like Dr. Dean said, affirming statements, progress statements, that kind of thing. And you will make the progress that you desire, and you will find yourself in a much more grounded space. Okay?
So in other words, people have gone through this negative thing with you guys too. I'm not the only one, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. That's why we know what to say to people.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we're at the top of the hour now. So we're going to ease out. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
Okay.
Peace.
Thank you, Shelley. Thank
you.
Bye.
Peace out. Peace out.
Okay.
That's
Well.
right. Peace out. Very good.
Bye.
Very good. Yes, absolutely. Speaking affirming words is one of the most important things about anybody's healing. And in a case like Shelley, it's even more important. So very good. Beautifully.
How about, Ginny, if I read the small property? So hopefully Shelley's still listening. This is what we'll send it to you by mail, however we can get it to you. But this affirmation is pretty awesome. It's called a small property. I was a small property ravaged by a storm. The fine weather has returned. The forest and the river have become calm. The house is vibrant and shines in the sun. And above all, the field is returning to its order, health, and beauty. Thank you, my diseased and depleted organs, for I know you have done all this to save my whole being, and thanks to myself for doing my healing. So that's the affirmation that just everybody really loves. Ginny loves it. Everybody loves it.
We all love it. We're out of time. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Dr. Dean, for your amazing grace.
Oh, thank you, Ginny. And who else? Rachel and Debbie and Bob and all you listeners.
You've been listening to the Dr. Carolyn Dean live radio show. For questions about today's broadcast, email Dr. Dean at questions@drcarolyndeanlive.com. That's questions@drcarolyndeanlive.com.
This is Dreamvision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.